Okay guys, it's episode 13. The day shift is over, the night shift are trying to take over, and the rest of everyone is done with the day. So for this episode, we're going to be focusing on Robbie, Mohan, Javadi, and Whitaker. And since we're in the final stretch of the season, we're really going to be focusing on what the last few episodes could entail. So with Robbie, we're given these two key pieces of information, both in this talk with Dana. One, his mum left him. Probably when he was quite young, considering the stories he's told about living with his grandparents. I got the impression that he had lived with his grandparents while quite young, so his mum probably left. Again, young. I don't need to explain myself to you, fuck off. And two, it's clarified to us and to Dana that all this prodding and poking of the young doctors that he's been doing comes from a place of worry about them not becoming the best physicians that they can be once he's gone. Rather than from a place of like, he doesn't think they're good enough, which is maybe what it could have been taken as for sure. Now, whether or not his techniques for prodding and poking the young doctors is effective, that can be questioned. But I think this scene does do some sort of redeeming for his character. Not that it's all excusable now because we know he's got a missing mum. Not that it's excusable because we know that his mum left him and he's just worried, so it's fine. But it does make him less of a villain, you know? In this episode, we also get more reasons for Robbie to stay rather than go on his sabbatical. First of all, we learned that Duke has an ascending aortic aneurysm, or a ticking time bomb, in his chest. But it's not going to get looked at in surgery until at least Monday, because of the holiday weekend. So now Robbie has to tell his friend that he has a thing in his chest that could kill him at any moment, and then he has to leave knowing that it hasn't been sorted out, or that something could happen and he wouldn't really know about it immediately, or he stays, puts off his sabbatical, and gets trapped in the pit forever. Honestly, looking at this from like Robbie's perspective, I can see why he's on the edge of a mental breakdown at all times. If you take a step back and view it from like a mentally healthy perspective, it just seems so stupid. Maybe dramatic. It seems a bit dramatic. You know, he's got many options. He doesn't have to only stay or only go. You know, it's fine. It's an interesting storyline. We do this episode seem taking a step into doing something healthy. He asks Noelle, his current kind of fling situation, if she'd like to come on the sabbatical with him. Crazy. Now, is this a good idea? No. Would it be the healthy thing to do even if he wasn't on a suicide quest? Of course not. But he's reaching out to someone, even if it's someone who has demonstrated that she doesn't really know Robbie that well. At least it's someone who could have held him accountable. Now, she doesn't accept the offer, of course she doesn't, but it's a step forward, so I'll take it. Let's move on to Mohan. My poor girl. She is quickly climbing back up the ladder for most likely to have another mental breakdown. The big thing that happened with her this episode is that Orlando, the diabetes patient she was trying to help like desperately a couple episodes ago, has come back but with a significantly worse injury. He took quite a high fall at work after not recovering his low blood sugar count from earlier, and eventually we learn that he has a brain injury that will almost certainly leave him disabled and needing like constant care. Before we discover this, we can see that Mohan is like struggling and terrified, but is trying to keep some semblance of control and helping out her patient as much as she can. Specifically, when Orlando is brought in, Mohan goes to the paramedics and asks if there's anything strange in his workplace, specifically stuff that means his fall could be blamed on the company.
There was a break in the railing, or there were security cameras.
So the family could maybe have means for suing and get some money to pay off their medical debt. But unfortunately, this doesn't seem to matter anymore, as we learn throughout the episode that Orlando is in much bigger trouble than losing money. This really throws Mohan for like the rest of the episode. While everyone else is chilling out, doing brain surgery, and just trying to keep Orlando alive, she's thinking about the man she got to know with a family and worries and a life, who now has a life-altering injury that could have been prevented pretty easily. Of course, no one blames her. Robbie even tells the family that it was Orlando's choice to leave the hospital against medical advice.
We honored his decision to leave.
Even if he was a stupid one.
Although this feels a bit more hollow coming from him compared to last season when we know all of the shit that has gone down between these two. This episode just really feels like Mohan reaping the worst consequences for getting to know her patients and being more personal with them, like the cherry on top of the most disgusting cake for her today. Going back to brain surgery, Javadi finally gets a little win. She is helping out with Orlando alongside a top dog neurosurgeon. She seems kind of uncomfortable around her at first, mostly because she's like friends with her mom and is in that kind of area of the hospital.
I was at your mother's baby shower. She was a resident. You were in utero.
But with a little encouragement from Robbie, she goes and volunteers to help out with the neurosurgery. And guys, she is into it. It is lovely to see Javadi finally doing doctor work with the same expression on her face that she gets whenever she hears like gossip. She has always been very competent at her job, excelling with like the knowledge aspects and doing pretty good with the physical parts. But I think that this is the first time we've seen her actually like enjoy herself, at least as much as one can with a dying patient on the table. And finally, let's talk about Whitaker. This scene with Ogilvy really cements his role in the pit this season for me. We see him supporting Santos, worrying over Robbie, and really taking the initiative with Ogilvy, who is like struggling after losing the patient that he was bonding with last episode. Whitaker seats him in the back of the ambulance, paralleling that scene with Robbie and Collins in season 1. He repeats the words of comfort that Robbie had given him when he lost his first patient, gives him the go-ahead to go home, takes his apron thingy so that he doesn't have to go back into the pit since he doesn't want to, and asks him to sleep on the decision of whether or not he's gonna come back. Because despite the fact that Ogilvy has his flaws, he is in a very compromised position emotionally right now, and he should not decide his entire future based off one pretty big mistake, but only the one mistake on his first day in the pit. And Whitaker knows this personally. He's passing along this knowledge that he learned himself to making sure that these other doctors are doing better. Okay, so we're gonna go around and have a chat about what this all means for, like, the future of their characters in these next few episodes. First of all, with Robbie, now knowing that his mum was absent in his life, it really makes the scenes with Mohan make a lot more sense. It isn't excusable, but there is now some rhyme and reason as to why he doesn't understand why Mohan's freaking out about her mum while at work. It's because her mum is pushing her way into Mohan's life. Whereas with Robbie, his mum did the opposite. She left. So any issues he has with her can be pretty easily shoved down and ignored, especially on the clock. So now that we have a good reason for why he exploded at Mohan, maybe we can get a better apology for it. I don't know. I don't even know if there's gonna be enough time for it. We'll find out, but hopefully what we will be seeing by the end of the season is the big decision from Robbie. The good old, should I stay or should I go? Now, I feel like everything this episode is screaming at Robbie to stay. Jake's diagnosis, Robbie's hesitancy to go alone, and just all the unfinished arguments. But at the same time, it might be having the opposite effect. None of these are good, healthy reasons for him to stay. I think it's just adding fuel to the fire of why he wants to go. I think the pit is living up to its name and is becoming more and more inescapable. And so far, the only thing in place right now that I could see stopping him is Dana. She has gotten the clearest confession to what Robbie's plans are so far. Obviously, many people have noticed his behavior and are concerned, but Dana has now witnessed him on the verge of tears being like, I don't know if I'm gonna come back. Bitch, I would also be concerned. That's a confession. And something about her face makes me think that maybe, possibly, maybe she's sort of noticing his kind of suicidal tendencies. Potentially. I can just sense some Dana meddling. It's gonna happen, for sure. Alright, now with Javadi, we know that she's been struggling with what speciality she wants to follow. There is tons of pressure from all sides. Her parents, her mentors, even her crush was asking what she's gonna do. But finally, it looks like she's found a passion. I think it's now a question of, is she actually gonna follow it? I don't think it's a secret that Javadi hates being in the shadow of her parents, especially her mum, who is also a surgeon. We've seen Javadi find this interest in surgery, specifically neurosurgery, but what happens when her mum finds out? Which she will eventually. If this isn't handled right by her mum, I could see Javadi choosing to rebel over her mum rather than choosing what's best for her. We know that Dr. Shamsi doesn't approve of Javadi being in emergency medicine, but the hours and shifts that are put into it are like the perfect excuse for Javadi to avoid her parents at all costs. And just turning a bit meta for a moment, I have not heard anything about Shabana leaving us in season 3. I think there's a good chance, like Robbie fears, that Javadi will impede her own career out of a fear and distaste for always being seen as her mother's daughter, rather than her own person. Alright, now with Whittaker, I think we're seeing a similar trajectory of potential with him, but maybe a bit more successful than Javadi's. I've been harping on all season about how weird it is that Whittaker's been having this like great day, when last season he was for sure a punching bag. But I think this was greatly needed this season. Everyone's having the worst day of their lives, especially the emotional pillars from last season, Robbie and Dana. But this season, they're out of commission, so who's gonna take their spot? Whittaker. He's taken the lessons that he learned last season, and although he's still got a few aspects he's struggling with, he's using them to help support his co-workers. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he had another talk with Robbie before he leaves. Now, I couldn't tell you if it would actually be successful. Part of me kind of hoping it isn't, because I don't want like a rehash of last season's final few episodes. And there's been talk about him leaving to go do rural medicine, but I'm guessing that that's more towards the end of his residency rather than anytime soon. So for the time being, I think he's staying this kind of emotional support doctor. Most of his troubles are going to be external patient ones rather than internal ones. But that being said, we didn't learn about his unhoused situation until like the final few minutes of season 1, so I wouldn't be surprised if we learned something in the finale of this season as well. I'm looking at the shark guy, okay? That guy is weird and I'm still sus on him. Okay, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. Mohan has obviously had quite a rough shift, but I'm gonna ignore all that and go a little bit meta. It's relatively recent news that Supriya Ganesh, the actress for Mohan, is leaving and not coming back for season 3. And now, she's been talking about leaving this entire season, okay? It's not that big of a deal, but it is confirmed now. But the fact that I'm seeing people online saying that this is evidence of some behind-the-scenes drama is kind of crazy to me. So just to try and clear this up before moving on, the source of this information is from Variety, who say they got it from an individual with knowledge of the situation, and this source says that it was a story-driven decision. Now, obviously all of this is a bit he said, she said, and we have to trust that Variety and this individual are telling the truth, but that's journalism. I feel like people are just making up the fact that Supriya's left because of some drama with cast or crew. But it's kind of crazy to assume that without any evidence, as far as I can see. So I am gonna take this at face value. This was a story-driven decision, not some weird drama thing, because I'm not here to, like, gossip. I'm here for the facts, baby. So I'm trusting the writers to wrap up Mohan's story as well as they can, or at least as well as they can with only a couple episodes and a story that's really based in realism. I know that I've been like hoping and praying that Mohan will stay with us, but that isn't the kind of show that this is, okay? doctors leave and go, especially student doctors, okay? They're moving around all the fucking time. Now, the thing that I do have a small problem with is the fact that we got told this in the first place. I don't really understand the decision. Surely this is something you reveal after the finale? I mean, all this has seemed to do is spark distrust in the writers. So unless that's what they were trying to do, make us question their ability to write and then hit us with a character arc that's so phenomenal that we're like, oh my god, I can't believe we doubted them. But that seems pretty ballsy, if I do say so myself. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was leaked and it wasn't meant to come out. Maybe it was an April Fool's joke that just came out a day too late. But my assumption is that we were purposefully told either to make us question them or to prepare for Mohan leaving. Either way, I still don't know how much I liked it. It's too close to spoiler territory for me. It's like, now I know she's leaving. Okay, gang. That is everything I wanted to cover with these four in this episode, so let's move on to the quick fire shit that we love talking about. Okay, Abbott is here now, but for some reason he's really difficult to track down from a lot of the residents. Apparently he has a meeting, but I'm gonna say this out loud. I don't trust it. I'm a little bit suspicious. Why mention a meeting and then not give us any information about the meeting?
Any new information from upstairs?
Nothing we don't already know.
Same old story, huh?
Santos doesn't think that Al-Hashimi has what it takes to run the ER, but considering how little time she spent with Al-Hashimi, makes me feel like this is more about how she looks up to Robbie than how she feels about the new attending. Speaking of Al-Hashimi, it seems like her little zone-out moments are a relatively recent development, because Robbie asks Mohan about them, and she doesn't remember any of them happening back when they worked together a few years ago at the VA, which for me could either mean it's not PTSD related, because it's a new thing, or it could only be triggered by, like, kids. That sounds weird. It's only triggered by kids, and so it wasn't really a thing that happened in the VA, because that's full of, like, adult war veterans, I think. I don't know shit about this. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing from logic, not from knowledge. PTSD from Afghanistan, by the way. Like, that's where it'd be from. Langdon has a kind of waver in confidence after not very successfully trying to treat a kid with asthma, but he seems to feel a bit better after Mel kind of, I don't know, bolsters him. Ooh, Abbott is judgy about Robbie and Noelle being together, and it is hilarious. Santos has quote-unquote no sympathy for fucking idiots, which seems to surprise McKay that that's, like, her method of diagnosing stuff.
Our job security depends on all these big fucking idiots.
Oh. Okay.
But also, McKay respects it. I think if Santos was, like, more of a student doctor, she may try the whole, like, you need more empathy to be a doctor thing, but it's a tried and true method from Santos at this point, so let's just let her go, let her do her thing, you know? There are some new night shift people we haven't met yet, including a new student doctor who I can't quite get a vibe on yet. She mostly seems to be here to pull our day shift staff into more patient-related cases while they're around. And then Dr. Henderson, who just is pure night shift vibes, comes in, looks good, is saving the day, chilling out, you know? It's what we want. And finally, Monica is for sure a massive racist. She gives Al-Hashimi and the new night shift student, Tamarian, her name's Tamarian, a weird look when they speak Armenian together. And she makes a shitty comment towards Emma for leaving early, or just, like, earlier than other people. Here's what I'm curious about. Why are the writers giving what was her name? Monica? Why are they giving Monica these traits? If it was just that moment last episode with Javadi, I would have totally just written it off as a moment to kind of reflect and show how young Javadi is. But now that it's kind of leaking out to other people, I'm kind of thinking it's gonna, like, culminate to something. But I don't know what. My girlfriend's got the idea that maybe she's gonna have, like, a big hissy fit when she gets told to go home, because she's like, this is my job, you guys need me, because, you know, if she's got this attitude towards other people, she's obviously very self-entitled. But, I don't know, I mean, probably something like that could happen, but otherwise, I don't know what else. Okay, we're now gonna do a quick register. Who is here and who is not? Okay, so Emma and Ogilvy have now left. I'm also gonna scooch McKay back over here because as much as she's trying, I think she's gonna be a bit late to her date. Santos and Whitaker now have jobs to do, which I think are gonna keep them busy, certainly until the end of the season, potentially longer. I would love it if the season ended with them still at work, doing this fucking paperwork, but hanging out with each other. Wouldn't that be nice? A nice little ending for them. Please. And Abbott did make an appearance. He didn't sleep in. I don't know why I thought he would. I'm just here for the drama. So he's over here now. Dana is also super over in the here side and potentially staying all night because, goddamn, she's gonna refuse to leave before Robbie leaves. That's my bet. I don't know if this side's gonna change much, actually. I think maybe McKay might be able to get out early, but the rest of them seem like they're gonna lock in for the rest of the season. There we go. Register over. And that is it for this episode. Sorry for the late upload. I'll try and be back on my self-imposed schedule next week. Try. In the meantime, I hope everyone enjoys the next episode. Hopefully, if I put this out soon, it'll not be out yet. Hopefully no one dies. At least no one we care about. Let me know what you think of episode 13. I'm curious to know, as always. And check out my other videos if you want. And bye-bye.